Hi everyone! In today's video, I'm going to be sewing a blouse for late winter, early spring. I wanted to do something that was a little bit sheer, had a little bit of flow to it, but it still has those kind of dark wintry colors. I'm going to be using McCall's M8287 pattern in view D, and I'm going to be scooping out the neckline, I think just a little bit more, and I think I want to add a necktie in the same fabric to kind of drape along with it. The fabric I'm going to use is this navy blue chiffon with these navy blue polka dots on it. I know polka dots are a big trend for 2025. I am in love with this fabric, and I got it at a warehouse in Philly. I have been wanting to make something out of this fabric for quite some time, and I just felt nervous to cut into it, but I'm at the point of, you know what, it's time, let's just do it. It's so pretty and I don't want it to sit in my closet forever. So I'm really excited to cut up the fabric and make a top. So let's get into sewing. Before we get sewing, I want to review some tips for working with chiffon. One way to sew with chiffon is to use a tissue paper layer. This is really great from preventing the fabric getting eaten into the machine. Another recommendation I saw is that you can use a 1/4 inch presser foot, and I tried this out later in the video and it was quite successful, so I think this is going to be something I'm going to use going forward. It's also common to use a smaller stitch length with chiffon. And then as for cutting the fabric, it's recommended to use a rotary cutter. I'm going to first start off with sewing the darts. This will need to be completed on both the outer layer of fabric and the lining. After sewing the darts, I attach the front and back panels to each other, then attach the lining to the outer layer. I also sewed a basting stitch to keep the fabric in place before inserting the sleeve. All right, jumping ahead to maybe a week later, I think I kind of lost track of time. I discovered some issues with the lining that I had originally picked out for this project. I think it was this polyester lining. I got it kind of out of like a fabric scrap bin. I originally thought it was going to be a good choice for working with chiffon, but I sewed the bodice completely, put it on, and I was like, something really doesn't feel right. I thought it looked great. It gave me that opaqueness that I was looking for, but I knew I had to swap out the lining. So I did a bit more research, and I realized that a lot of people actually line their chiffon tops with a few different types of fabric, but one of which can be more chiffon. I don't have any other black or navy chiffon in my fabric stash, and I really didn't want to get any more materials for this project. So I think I'm just gonna have to use the original chiffon that I have with the polka dot patterns and use that as my lining as well. I think I didn't have too much left, so I'm really hoping that I have enough for the lining, and it kind of also makes me feel better I probably would have just had scraps and not known what to do with it anyways, so at least it's all going towards this one project, but we shall see. I'm going to start cutting now. So it's kind of hard to see. I'm going to see if I can adjust the camera here. I am just squeaking in. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera of this layer of fabric. I am just squeaking in here, and it's like a little bit short over here. I think once I kind of press this out, it'll end up being okay, but I'm quite literally every single edge just squeaking into this scrap piece of fabric that I have left over. I'm not going with the correct grain line here, and there's just nothing I can do about that. I cannot make it fit any other way. so I'm hoping it won't affect the flow of the lining too much, but I'm just gonna go for it and try it out anyways. So it is what it is at this moment. Another thing I want to do is shorten the lining length. I want it to be just a little bit shorter than the outer layer. So I'm gonna do about maybe 3/4 of an inch, or maybe just even a full inch. Okay, so now I'm on to sewing the hem of the inner lining chiffon. I'm gonna show you how I sew the hems. I didn't show that on the outer layer. But what I'm gonna do is line up the fabric on the 1/2 inch mark, and I'm just gonna sew one straight line on this one piece of fabric here. Nothing's folded over yet. Just gonna sew this one straight line. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this over, and I'm gonna sew right on, oh boy, you really can't see this in the camera here. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you can see the thread, but you're gonna sew over that same line of thread, and then next we'll trim. Okay, the chiffon lining has now been installed. I'm at the point where I want to finish off the raw edges, and I wanted to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So I have the 2 different hem lengths, the inner lining being a little bit shorter than the outer lining, and that's on both sides here. This side has already been attached. It's just this one opening that I have for where the zipper is going to be installed. So instead of just sewing it straight down, I don't want to have those raw edges open. I'm going to fold them into each other and sew it from the inside. I'm really hoping that this is going to give enough stabilization for the invisible zipper that I'm going to install. It felt fine with the polyester. I've never installed an invisible zipper into chiffon before, and it really felt okay when I did it with just that lining. But because this is chiffon and chiffon lining, I'm not sure if it's going to provide enough stabilization, but I'm going to give it a shot, and if not, I'm going to just unpick it and install some interfacing before the zipper. So let's get to the zipper now. I'm just realizing that I don't have a lot of footage of doing the French seams for the sleeves here, but I'll explain quickly what I did. I matched the right sides together, and here I have the video of me trimming down the excess fabric down to 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to be flipping the fabric inside out and sewing, I think it was about 1/4 of an inch, or maybe less, to get that nice finished seam. Now we're going to gather. We're going to sew 2 lines right at the peak of the sleeve here. I do 4.8 in stitch length, kind of like a thick or a long stitch, so it's easier and looser to grab for the gathers. So I'm just going to sew these two real quick. And then I'm going to start pulling on the gathers, and I'm going to put it against the armhole of the bodice to make it fit perfectly in there. I just want to do kind of a few initial gathers to get it started. All right, we have our sleeves set in, looking wonderful. And we're on to the last step. I'm going to start creating the casing for the elastic. Now with chiffon, it's probably going to be a little trickier, so I'm going to see what I can do to sew that casing here within the sleeve. And then I'm going to snake the elastic pieces through it that I have here. And I just measured along my wrist, but there is a pattern piece for the elastic too. Okay, I finished the casing. You see I left a gap here so I can insert the elastic through, and then I'll sew that back down once the elastic's all the way in there and sewed up together. And now the top is complete. I ended up having some extra fabric, so I decided to make the thin scarf I was talking about in the intro of the video. I do apologize for the video here. This is all vertical. I guess I did not end up getting any horizontal video. I chose to go with about 4 inches in width and 53 inches. That was really just based off of the amount of fabric that I had, but that's totally adjustable however long you'd prefer your scarf to be. The shape of the scarf that I'm doing is also going to be a rectangle, so I'm going to be closing off both of the ends and sewing all along one of the sides, leaving about a 1 to 2 inch gap where I'm going to flip the scarf inside out, press it, and then hand stitch it closed. I am really happy with how this project turned out. It was my first time sewing a blouse from scratch with chiffon. I've done a lot of hemming with chiffon, but not constructing with it, so this was a fun challenge. I feel like the only thing that I would adjust is not scooping the neckline out as deep as I did, because it was slipping off of my shoulders a little bit, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to adjust that. Might just be some sticky tape for the time being. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and please drop any tips you have for sewing with chiffon. See you all in the next video.